Good evening. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the live forum to present the reopening scenario for the Fort Plain Junior Senior High School. I'm John Bishop, the Superintendent of Schools, and with me tonight is Miss Larrabee, our school principal. This evening's presentation, once again, is going to focus on the reopening plans for the Junior Senior High School. As a reminder, this Thursday evening, we're going to have our final presentation, and these will be a district level conversation about special education and some remote learning supports that we'll put in place for our medically vulnerable students. Following the presentation from Ms. Larrabee, we'll answer any questions that are submitted in the chat box, along with some questions that have been submitted in advance on our Google portal on the school's website. Our goal is to address as many questions as time permits this evening. Please understand that our reopening plans will continue to evolve with the guidance that we're receiving from the governor's office, from the New York State Education Department, and from our local planning committees. Our priority remains focusing on maximizing our student-teacher contact time and maintaining the integrity of our instructional program so that students and employees can access a safe and healthy school environment. I encourage you, if you still have questions that are unresolved or unanswered, please reach out to the administration so that we can get those answered for you. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ms. Larrabee, the school principal at the Junior Senior Fort Plain High School.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. First, I want to say that we've missed you and we hope that you and your family are well. We take the obligation of caring for your children seriously and are grateful for your support and patience as we continue to navigate through these challenging times. And once again, we ask for your understanding and assistance as we unfold our reopening plan. We've worked very hard researching, listening to experts, listening to our teachers, students, and to you. I'm grateful to the outstanding team who've helped in the development of this plan. It's the result of many hours of discussion and collaboration. And it's proven to be a very complicated and challenging issue. With every decision we make, we have more questions. And despite all the preparation, these plans, as Mr. Bishop said, can change quickly and may present even more questions. We feel we have a solid reopening plan with many details considered, but know that the very best plan can only reduce the chance of transmitting COVID-19. It's impossible to completely guarantee the virus will not spread. Our plan represents a new normal, and it's based on guidance from the New York State Education Department, the Centers for Disease Control, and the Montgomery County Public Health Department. While you may not agree with all of our choices, understand that every decision made was in keeping with our goal to not only support our students' learning, but keeping everyone's safety and well-being in mind. Last Thursday, Mr. Bishop outlined the general provisions and expectations of our district's reopening plan. Today, I'd like to outline the plan at our junior senior high school. Following my explanation, we'll answer some of your questions, and I hope that my narrative will address some of your concerns and present a more complete picture of what the school day will look like for your child. In order for our school to reopen, we had to ensure educational equity for all of our kids. We had to provide daily teacher-student interactions, maintain appropriate social distancing, establish a process of health checks, require face coverings for everyone when not socially distanced, and promote hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette. During this presentation, I'll do my best to cover each of these topics. The junior senior high school has developed a blended model that provides a mix of both in-person and virtual learning. We considered many configurations, but believe this model is most beneficial for student learning and social emotional well-being. On defined days, some students learn remotely, others at school. This limits the number of students in our building, on buses, and in hallways at one time by 50%. Since our student cohorts are relatively small, we were able to divide them into two groups, students in grades 7, 8, and 9, and students in grades 10, 11, and 12. We worked with the elementary school to try to pair children at the Harry Hogue with sibling schedules at the junior senior high school. Our kids will rotate on a 4-day schedule. So for example, a student in grade 7 on day 1 will come to school for in-person instruction. On day 2, he'll be at home for virtual instruction. Day 3 comes back to school for his B-Day classes. And day 4, he's going to be at home for virtual instruction during his B-Day classes. And that's going to repeat on the 5th day. So some days students will be in school for 3 days. Some days they'll be in school for 2 days. The grade 10, 11, and 12 students are just the opposite. So on the days that the 7th, 8th, and 9th graders are in school, the 10th graders will be at home. The 2nd day they'll be in school following their A-Day classes. The 3rd day they're going to be at home for their B-Day classes, and then come back to school on that 4th day, and again repeat that cycle. In-person instruction will be at Fort Plain Junior Senior High School, and I've been guaranteed the construction will be done. Students will follow their schedule and attend classes as a normal school day. We are offering a full array of courses, including electives, SUNY, and AP classes. Our goal is to mail student schedules out next week. As you can see, classrooms are physically set up to promote social distancing. Desks will be facing forward and 6 feet apart. Unfortunately, with the building projects, the teachers have been unable to get into their rooms as they normally would have this summer. I was able to meet with each teacher last week, and we looked at their classrooms, their schedules, and class sizes, and discussed safety protocols. They were gracious, flexible, cooperative, and they purged many things from their classrooms in order to have their rooms ready for students. Our average class size is around 15 students. Some classes are smaller, some classes are larger. We do have rooms to fit larger classes to keep within that social distancing parameters. And I think that only affected about 5 of our classes. For consistency, student schedules will remain the same whether instruction is in person or remote. We will use Google Classroom as our single online learning platform. At-home instruction may include a variety of options: live virtual instruction, pre-recorded instruction, home assignments, independent work, activities, assessments. Some of these may take the whole period. Others may just be a shortened task. Regardless of the length or type of instruction, students will have mandatory live check-ins and will need to log into their Google Classrooms to complete whatever tasks are assigned. During remote instruction days, your child's teacher will be available during that period to assist their students. An exception, of course, will be study halls. While study halls will meet on in-person days, attendance will not be required on virtual learning days to give students a break from their computer screens. Grading practices will follow a standards-based framework that are designed to provide direct feedback regarding students' mastery of course content. And we know remote learning cannot provide the same level of supports as in-person learning, but we want to make that virtual platform as dynamic as possible. So each student will be issued a Chromebook. If connectivity is a problem, please reach out to us so we can help problem solve. Students will also receive their own school email account that will add to the ease of Google Classroom. Our teachers will be working with students to ensure they're familiar and comfortable with this online platform. But it's also important for students to understand their responsibility as learners and engage in their classes. So here are a few expectations for online learning. Have your child treat each day like a school day. When they're at home, create a space dedicated for learning. Encourage them to reach out to teachers, counselors, and administrators when needed. Follow the code of conduct, including academic integrity. And make sure to charge their Chromebooks each night and bring them to school daily. We're requesting chargers stay home. We don't have the capacity to charge everyone's device during school, so it's going to be your child's responsibility to make sure their Chromebook is charged and comes to school with them. As far as students with disabilities, we are going to continue to have them receive the appropriate services to the fullest extent possible. Self-contained students may attend school daily. Arrangements may also be made for students needing resource room or co-teaching support. The Director of Special Education, Mrs. Katrina Canelatos, and her staff will be reaching out to parents and students.
And she'll also be providing us with some more detailed information this Thursday evening.
Perfect. Attendance. I think I saw a question about attendance. Although we have always emphasized the value of good attendance, we understand during this time, attendance may be compromised. However, students are expected to attend school daily, whether in person or remote, and teachers will take attendance. So our attendance policy will be in effect during the 2020-21 school year, which means Mrs. Hext will be making calls home when a student is absent from class, in person or remote. Our counseling team will also be available daily to reach out to families dealing with excessive attendance issues, and they'll be considered under the lens of the current environment. But understand, students not present on a daily basis will affect their learning and eventual grading outcome. Food service, we will still provide lunch and breakfast. They'll be available for all students. The number of students in the cafeteria will be limited, and student seats will be marked for socially distanced seating. We divided lunch into 3 periods, so there'll only be at the most 67 students in the cafeteria at one time. To reduce the chance of cross-contamination, a variety of changes have taken place, including no self-service, disposable trays and eating utensils, students not needing to press their ID in at the end at the checkout. Students are still allowed to bring lunches from home, but all students will be eating lunch in the cafeteria. Students who want breakfast will be able to pick it up in the cafeteria, but this year they're going to be eating it in their first period classrooms. Students will be wearing face masks to and from food areas, but not when they're sitting or eating. We'll provide student meals on remote days as well. So at the end of each school day, bagged breakfasts and lunches will be available for students to grab and go before exiting the building. So I mentioned face coverings in the cafeteria. We understand that you have concerns about students wearing masks all day. But in order for us to reopen school, masks will be required when social distancing is not possible. So here are some guidelines for wearing masks. Masks will be required on school buses, in hallways and public spaces, and in classrooms when social distancing is not possible. And that will be determined by the teachers. Students should enter classes wearing masks. Teachers will guide students as to the practice in each of their classes. Masks will not be required during PE classes. And students may wear any type of face covering decorated in a school-appropriate manner. We do have masks available to students if needed. We believe our expectations are fair and necessary based on current health department guidance. We recognize face coverings may be uncomfortable, and some students have health issues wearing masks for long periods of time, which is why we want to be reasonable in our expectations. To further help with social distancing and transitions between classes, we've changed walk patterns throughout the building, marking stairwells and hallways as one way. We've also staggered dismissal times between classes to limit hallway congestion. Daily screenings are yet another health precaution we're taking. We are not COVID testing, right?
We are not COVID testing.
We are just taking temperatures. And temperature screenings will be conducted each morning. Bus aides will screen students before getting on the bus. Non-bus students will have temperatures taken daily by school personnel upon entering the building. Faculty and staff will be responsible for taking their own temperatures and completing screening protocols daily. Students who arrive late to school will report to the kiosk to sign in and have their temperatures taken. Anyone with a temperature of 100 or more will not be allowed to attend school. Another health precaution is the cleaning and disinfecting protocols. Our custodial staff has been amazing between the current building project and working with teachers to get classrooms ready with the new social protocols. They have been next to us throughout the whole procedure. They'll work between student cohorts to clean with an EPA-approved disinfectant, all high-touch surfaces throughout the school. Rooms will be cleaned and disinfected between each class. For this to occur, some classrooms have to be moved to allow for disinfection. Bathrooms will be cleaned hourly, and our custodial staff has disinfectant foggers that can be used to sanitize areas quickly and easily. All classrooms will have access to bottles of cleaner they can use. Students will not be asked to assist in any of the cleaning processes. But faculty and staff will be trained on COVID-19 protocols, including hand washing and respiratory hygiene. So students will be reminded about the importance of hand washing. Signage will be posted. Hand sanitizers will be available and plentiful, and students will be prompted to use it. They'll be directed to use it when they enter and exit classrooms, as well as the building and any other transition times. Another change revolves around arrivals and dismissals. Many of you indicated your desire to transport your children to and from school. It's greatly appreciated since it will reduce density on the bus. But we had to configure our loading and unloading locations and times for bus and non-bus students to ease traffic flow and provide for the safety of our students. Arrival and departure times have been staggered to ensure social distancing. We are working with HFM BOCES to coordinate arrival times for our students attending Career Tech and the P-Tech programs. But overall, students will not be allowed in the building until 7:40, which is the time the first bus is scheduled to arrive at the junior senior high school. Bus students will be entering using the entrance by the gym. For parent drop-off and pickup, we are now using the Main Street entrance, which is the old front of the building. This is going to be delineated as one-way traffic during drop-off and pickup times. Parents can begin to drop off students at 7:45. Non-bus students will enter using the front door, where they will stop to have their temperatures taken. Upon arrival to school, students report to their first period classrooms to avoid congregating. They may stop in the cafeteria to grab breakfast, but again, they're going to be taking those to their rooms. And students will not be assigned lockers for the time being, which is why you may find that our supply list posted on our school website is light this year. We're working out on the best ways to try to assign lockers, but social distancing makes it very difficult. Dismissals will be staggered, with bus students being dismissed first. Non-bus students will be dismissed after. There'll be a barricade blocking parents from exiting until buses leave at approximately 2:45. There will not be a late bus. Students must exit the building and allow for our custodial staff to do a deep end of the day cleaning. A final point is the school activities. Extracurricular activities will be canceled for the start of the school year. We will definitely explore bringing back activities that can be conducted remotely or in a safe environment. Field trips and assemblies will be canceled until further notice. As far as athletics, we're going to be following state protocols. No approval has been given yet for interscholastic athletics. However, discussions are ongoing, and the New York State Athletic Association wants to do the best for our student athletes. If given approval to have a fall sports season with whatever sports are allowed to be played, the New York State Athletic Association has already made the decision that the start date would be September 21st. So stay tuned for that. I provided you with the major points of our reopening plan. No things can change in an instant, so please continue to check the school webpage. Even if you don't agree with every point in our plan, I hope you know that we care deeply about our students and that we will continue to work hard to do what's best for them. We will get through this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larrabee. A very thorough presentation of our reopening plan for the junior senior high school. And to reiterate, in both Harry Hogue and the junior senior high school, our priorities remain a focus on teaching and learning and maximizing the student-teacher contact time that's available to us, whether in person or in the remote environment, while maintaining a safe and healthy environment for our students and our staff. So at this time, we do have some questions that have been submitted in advance on our Google form portal on the website. And I'm sure that we have some that are coming in on the chat box. So we're going to have a moderator to read us those questions.
Are you still transporting to VOTEC, and how are you going about that?
I addressed that. I said that we are absolutely transporting. Um, the VOTEC schedule is still in flux because the schools all have different schedules. We are transporting our students every day. The times are still being considered. We're talking to Mr. Mike DeMezza about that, but yes, they will be transported.
I actually have a superintendent's meeting tomorrow at the HFM BOCES Center and may have some more information on that. So we will continue to provide updates via the website and through the building administrators to make sure that any resolved concerns get resolved before the start of school.
If students have their own devices, iPads, that they use for schoolwork currently, can they use those, and should they use the Chromebooks provided by the school so everyone is on the same device?
They should use the Chromebooks because that's where all of our classes are going to be. So I would absolutely say please use the Chromebooks.
When will schedules be sent out so we know about supplies and high school?
The supply list I did mention is on our website, and I think I also mentioned that the schedules should be mailed out this next week.
Is there going to be an option for full remote learning?
We are continuing to explore all of the options as our plan evolves. We're looking at this as a soft September to really be focused on getting students back to school in a safe and healthy manner. The determination to offer a full remote option is going to be based on circumstances that are ever changing as we get through these presentations. So right now we have not offered a full remote option. We're offering those options to our medically vulnerable students, and we'll continue to stay apprised of the guidance and in regards to any full remote options that we may offer in the future.
Why is there a 20-minute parent drop-off time difference between the Harry Hogue and the high school?
Our schedule starts at 8 o'clock. And for us, that is when learning is at our first period class. So for the students at the junior, senior high school, it's very important for learning to take place from the start of the school day from 8 o'clock to 2:38.
There's also an extended homeroom period, so students can eat lunch in their classrooms at the junior, senior high school. And I think here at Harry Hogue, their classroom is extended on a different side of that. So the amount of time that students are spending with instructional support during the day is about equal, though be it varies from day to day in the beginning and the end of the day.
Are plastic face shields okay to wear, or does it have to be a mask?
You know, that's a really good question that's come up for many of our employees as well. The guidance is telling us that even if you're wearing a face shield, you still need to have a cloth covering over your nose and your mouth. So if you were choosing to wear a face shield, you would also have to be wearing a face covering that covers, a cloth covering that covers your nose and your mouth.
What measures are in place should a student or staff member refuse to wear a mask?
That question has come up quite a bit. We're actually looking to add something to the school code of conduct that is going to help us to address those issues of noncompliance with students in the most effective way. We're caught between a rock and a hard place on this because we want to be able to provide an environment for students that feels as normal as possible. So we're really working hard to make sure that there are a lot of opportunities during the day when students and or employees do not have to wear those face coverings. Unfortunately, on buses, in hallways, and or in common areas where social distancing cannot be maintained, we have to adhere to that guidance and that recommendation from the CDC and the New York State Education Department. That is a mandate from the governor that we cannot ignore. So employees would have a different pathway that would be more of a discipline kind of issue. But again, there is a situation where students who are medically vulnerable may have different alternatives for that.
Will seventh graders be able to tour the building?
Great question.
Yeah, we couldn't do it this summer because of the building project. The seventh grade teachers have been brainstorming to figure out the best way to get the seventh graders in. There probably is not a way for us to do it until September, but the seventh grade team does have ideas about how to do in an orientation that will be safe, social distance, but give the kids a flavor of what our building is like.
And some of the complexity with that right now really revolves around the construction project and the amount of work that is happening, particularly on the roof right now of that school building.
Will we know on what day the kids start, like A or B day? How will we know what days they go on?
The schedule shows that, I think it's on the calendar, isn't it? A day, B day? Don't we have a calendar?
Yeah,
that's
we're going to ensure that all of the start days, start times, school calendar, things like that are put on the website. Following these forums, you'll also receive some information from the district office, myself, about the start of school and what our intentions are, with some directions on how you can access the information on the school calendar.
Will the school provide teachers with any training regarding how to help children readjust to school?
We do a lot of that. We have, I think teachers need some help as well. We have a group called EPIC that we've had for a couple of years. And I think that that's a group that forms connections. We are looking at ways in which we can support our students socially and emotionally. It's important for us to have kids come to school, which is why the schedule that we have in place, having a regular schedule, I think will help them adjust. And on those remote learning days, the teachers will be there to help them as well. I think it's going to be a learning curve for a lot of us, but I'm confident that we will be able to have everyone readjust to school.
What do the random health screenings for students include?
I can address that. We talked about this last night, and we'll continue to talk about it on Thursday evening. The random health checks would really just be around whether or not people are feeling okay, are they exhibiting any symptoms, but more importantly, a simple temperature screening at the start of the school day is what the temperature screening is really all about, is to check and see whether or not people are symptomatic with a fever over 100 degrees. If children and or employees are feeling sick throughout the school day, our nurses will be involved in kind of going through some protocols to determine what the nature of that illness is. And if there's a concern that that student may be symptomatic with a high fever or something like that, we wouldn't use the nurse's office. We actually have a separate location for that. So our nurse's office will be filled with students as they normally would, stopping in, saying hello, grabbing some mints, things like that, getting cough drops if they need to. But the random temperature screenings are really just going to be focused on some general screening practices to make sure that we are maintaining a safe and healthy environment.
Do we pick our students up at the stairs as well, and what time?
What stairs?
The end of the day dismissal?
The bottom stairs? No, we're picking them up, that you go up that road, the back of the stairs.
The new driveway from Main
of
Street,
the
yeah.
The
Right.
old front of the building. And then you would drive around by the cafeteria, by that stop sign, and that's where the kids will be picked up and dropped off.
What we'll do in the meantime is put together a map so that we can illustrate what that dismissal plan is going to look like and what the traffic flow will be in that area, and get that posted on the website before school starts.
It was really congested when it was in the side parking lot. It was hard for buses to get in and out. So I think that this is going to allow a lot more ease for everyone.
Yeah, great suggestion.
My child will be driving to school, so does he still park down near these stairs
Yes,
and then they walk up?
yes,
Okay.
that hasn't changed.
If a child gets sick at school, what happens?
If a child gets sick at school, they're going to report to the nurse's office as they normally would. And if it's something that can be maintained during the school day, then the nurse will be in contact with you, and we'll keep the child in school. If they are feeling sick enough that they need to be sent home, then the nurse's office would reach out to the parent and arrange for pickup and or other means of transportation to go home.
You mentioned students checking in with teachers during each class time. What about teachers routinely reaching out to students and parents?
The purpose, the way we're doing remote learning that's different from the spring is that every period a student is going to be, a teacher will be available for those students. I think that teachers continually will reach out to parents or students, especially if they have concerns. But I think that the platform that we used with a full day of in-person and then a full day of remote, during those remote days, those teachers are available during that period for those students specifically.
If I could add, one of the things that we identified in the springtime as a barrier was communication. So we're adopting a new mass communication tool called Parent Square. And we are ambitiously on a timeline to roll that out before the start of school, which is going to give a higher level of our ability to communicate with family members of students via classroom and disaggregate that information and have a more seamless pathway for communicating.
How will students be graded this year?
They're going to be graded at standards-based. I mentioned that before, based on the feedback from teachers and their mastery of content.
How will they practice social distancing without feeling isolated?
One of the reasons we came up with the schedule we did is that the cohort is not divided. So in other words, the 7th grade will all report on A days so that the kids will be able to see their friends. They are going to, the 7th graders will all eat lunch together. They'll be in their classrooms together. We are trying to do the best we can. Mrs. Mahoney, our school counselor, is looking to actually create a group to deal with social emotional supports and helping students feel connected.
That's really important.
Can you reiterate about the 7th graders and what you're planning to do with letting them come in for a tour?
Everything is up in the air right now. The 7th grade team has been talking as a group on how the best way to do that is. We've talked with the project manager of construction and trying to find a day that we can get kids in. It probably will not be until September that the kids can come in. The plan is to have them tour the building with a parent, maybe have the parent sign up their Chromebooks, introduce their teachers. Everything is up in the air, but know that the 7th grade team is trying to plan something for you.
It's really important to have that transition to the junior, senior high school. And given the situation of the pandemic in the spring, it was unavoidable that we weren't able to complete many of those rites of passage for that particular transition period, which is ever so important to students and families. So we'll do everything that we can to ensure that there's an opportunity for that transition to occur in a very meaningful way. So at this point in time, I would like to thank you very much for taking the time to attend our reopening presentation for the junior, senior high school here at Fort Plains School District. We are doing the best that we can to provide a thorough overview of the reopening plans for Harry Hogue Elementary School, the Fort Plains Junior Senior High School. Once again, on Thursday, Mrs. Kanelatis will join me to talk about some more district level kinds of programming decisions that we're making for our special education population and the procedures that we'll have for our medically vulnerable students that may need some accommodations in that regard. Once again, thank you on behalf of Ms. Larrabee. We appreciate the fact that you took some time to spend with us this morning. If you have any further questions, please reach out to us and help us to guide you through that process. Information is coming every single day. Our plans will continue to evolve to meet the needs of our employees and our students to the best of our ability. And again, we appreciate and thank you very much for participating with us this evening. Have a good night.